Motion on the recent invasion, massacre and forced displacements of people from communities and villages in Frown and Ikyurav districts of Kwande local government area of Benue state. Note with dismay the recent invasion, massacre and displacements of thousands of peasant farmers from communities and villages cutting across the 5 council wards of Frown district and Ikyurav in Kwande local government area of Benue state by herdsmen. Recall that between the 2nd day of March 2023 and 4th day of March 2023, suspected armed herdsmen invaded several other villages across the 5 council wards in Frown and Ikyurav districts of Kwande area of Benue state, carrying out coordinated attacks on unarmed peasant farmers. Note that the attacks on the 5 council wards and Ikyurav district lasted for over 78 hours without any form of resistance from the villagers, and intervention by the soldiers deployed by the Nigerian army proved largely ineffective in repelling the murderous attackers, except the last-minute area bombing carried out by the Nigerian Air Force that forced the attackers to retreat. Note further that after days of heavy attacks on the aforementioned communities, most of which are located on Nigeria international border between Kwande and Cameroon, over 100 persons were reportedly killed, while several others suffered gunshot injuries. The herders also carried out other attacks of terror, such as burning of food barns, destructions of crops, destructions of places of worship, residential buildings, etc., etc., all allegedly intended to overpower the targeted villages and forcefully displace people from the ancestral lands.
It's an unfortunate incident, very condemnable, and like the mover of the motion said, the armed forces and our security personnel have made some efforts, even though not sufficient to stop the loss of over 100 lives. But of course, what I want to add here, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is the significance of the location being a border community. And I think this brings to question all the experiences we've had across most of the border communities. So I think, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I will want to urge that the security architecture, which this chamber, this institution has been talking about for a very long time, will need to be looked into much more dispassionately. In fact, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it will be apt if Nigeria can begin to look at a border force, because the border is large, both from the maritime and all the land areas. And I think the need to have these preemptive measures will go a long way in curbing these unfortunate episodes.
This motion is not only about Benue. In those days, you hear about Borno only. But these days, the issue of insecurity is all over. The effort of this government is commendable, but not enough yet. And what do? We, as the Senate, should continue supporting this government in doing or providing whatever is necessary to do the fundamental constitutional responsibility of a government. The main purpose of government, Mr. President, as we all know, is security and welfare of its citizens. And this is what this motion is all about. What I want to particularly draw the attention of the Senate President and my distinguished colleagues is the fact that the mover of the motion mentioned that it was when the Nigerian Air Force intervened that quelled the attack. And that means that if we have enough forces, Air Force platforms, then this problem will drastically reduce. The Tucano we approved under the critics of most people in this country is now proving very effective and worth it. Everywhere you hear attack, whenever the Air Force is there, that will be the end of that attack. There is still the need for the Nigerian Army to have army aviation so that they will have attack helicopters. They have been crying out for this, and once you have attack helicopters, which is cheaper than the Tucano we bought, and we have it, stationed in almost every state and everywhere, these people that carry out these attacks will know that once they try it, the Army Aviation and Air Force will be there to checkmate them. And the prayers is very clear, Mr. Senate President. There is the need for the NEMA or whichever organization or department is responsible to quickly intervene to provide a relief succor to the people that are affected.
I urge the federal government to direct the Nigerian police and Nigerian armed forces to beef up personnel and equipment deployment to Jato Aka in order to ensure effective surveillance, security response and protection on Yav, Mokwagi, Mbadura and Mbako Council wards in Turan District. In Turan District of Kwande local government area of Benue State that have become target for persistent harassment attack. Those of you prior to say aye, those against say nay.